everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here on a Piney podcast. Kind of took the day off from, wasn't much news. This is actually from yesterday. The beer virus cases are steady. 388 cases, maybe, kind of, sort of. The testing kits aren't that accurate. 4 more deaths, maybe, if they were this today, but they probably weren't. I mean, this is the kind of numbers that get reported breathlessly by our state government, and they're just not true. It's new confirmed deaths. It's not deaths today. It's new confirmed deaths. And, and then meanwhile, Phil Murphy's still indecisive. And this is terrible for business. New Jersey gyms are going to be permitted to open Tuesday at 25% capacity. But then he said on Friday, they're very close to allowing indoor dining at bars and restaurants. Oh, so close. So close. Just wait. Keep watching my address. I mean, that's the kind of thing no one can plan for. You can't plan your business around maybe, kind of, sort of. We'll see. You can't. And that's what's killing business. It's killing business in the state of New Jersey and in other Democratic-run states. And these are Democratic states. The Republican states are, for the most part, open. It's only where Democrats live. They've decided on this suicide pact, we're going to keep things locked down just to prove how righteous and right we are, because this is to our political advantage. The fall is coming, and when the fall comes, there will be a tick-up in beer virus cases. It is naturally going to happen, because the germs that die in the hot sunlight, it won't be hot enough for them to die right away. So they'll last longer and longer on surfaces. And as people get more and more relaxed, they're going to get more sick. They're just going to get more sick. Now, will it be a major spike? I don't think so. I think it'll be an increase, but it won't be a major spike. But, these guys are determined to get back in the White House by any means necessary. They don't care about you. They don't care about your business. This is a 100% power grab, 100% political. They absolutely do not care. Okay? Phil Murphy is a Goldman Sachs millionaire with 3 mansions who worked for the Obama administration as the German ambassador to Germany. He has a career. He has millions of dollars. It doesn't even matter if this doesn't work. What does he care? He's a millionaire with multiple houses. The DNC will throw him something. And if not, could you retire on $8 million? I think you could. Besides the fact that he worked for Goldman Sachs, he could maybe go back for them or just do some investing. He has nothing to worry about. So this is all a political gamble. He doesn't care about people. Why would he? Why would he care? Why would he care about people? He has specifically done this because he needs to be in good with the DNC. Show me the DNC members who are coming out and saying the virus isn't that bad. We should open things up. There's not many of them. And some of them are even supporting Trump. So, this is just ridiculous. And here's what's coming. Flu shots for all New Jersey kids in school and daycare would be required under a new bill. See, the Democrats love to say, when it comes to abortion, oh, it's your body, you're right. But when it comes to drugs, both parties are out to lunch on that. And when it comes to flu shots, now it's going to be required because they know better. And you could stand there and say, well, flu shots are a good thing. Hey, I'm not against flu shots. But you have to understand, they're not a panacea. They're only about 50% effective. Look it up. Don't trust me. Look it up. They're only about 50% effective. So, yeah, if the flu shot's free and, it doesn't do any harm, sure. But to make it mandatory is bad because the government should not be allowed to make anything mandatory like this. We are making it mandatory you get a flu shot. It doesn't stop there. It never stops there. Because if they get mandatory flu shots, then they can have mandatory beer virus vaccine. And again, you might say, well, that's a good thing. But you have to understand, they've spent decades perfecting the flu shot. Decades. And it's still only 50% effective. Why? Well, it has a lot to do with the science, but overall, the viruses keep mutating and they keep getting better, and so they have to keep making the flu shot slightly better or slightly different. I'm not an expert, but that's the general gist of it. With the beer virus, that vaccine, a lot of people have said this, oh, don't take that first vaccine. It's not, it could be dangerous. It's probably not going to be dangerous. It might, at most it'll probably be like, well, it wasn't effective and it actually made you a little more vulnerable to the beer virus. But that's not good either. And it's not good that, they'd be distributing let's say a vaccine that's 20% effective. Like that it'd be almost pointless. 20% effectiveness. And that's assumed someone comes in contact, they're in that 20%, and it, makes it so they don't get it. It's a long shot. You could wear a bulletproof vest just in case someone shoots you around this area. And you might say, well, that's ridiculous. Why would I wear a bulletproof vest? But it would protect you in those 2% of the times where you get shot at right here. Maybe you should wear a bulletproof vest. You see how ridiculous it is? Look, I don't want the government. I don't have a problem with the beer virus vaccine or the flu shot vaccine. I don't. In fact, coming up on before the virus, I was like, well, I'm 54. Maybe I'll get a flu shot this year. I never got one. And then the beer virus hit. And then it was like, all hell broke loose, and I never got around to doing it. So I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not saying no vaccines. I'm saying you can't make them mandatory. You can't have the government decide what goes in your body because they won't stop at flu shots. They have a tracking chip that they tried to push like, hey, this is a good idea. You can have a tracking chip just like your dog. And if your dog gets lost or you get lost, we could track you. And that's for your safety. Now, what if the government comes out and says, well, for your safety, we're going to make it mandatory that you have a tracking chip. Sound good? No. People would go bananas. But some people, the sheep, would go, bah, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. A lot of people would just go, do I have to get this? I can't go to work? All right, whatever. That's most people's reaction. They're just trying to get through their day. And if you make it mandatory, they're not going to fight you because it's like they're too lazy to fight. They've got more important things to do. They're just trying to get through their lives. But no, I'm completely against any kind of mandatory thing from the government. And if you want to ban me from your business, fine. That's okay. If you want to stand at the doorway and say, hey, did you get a flu shot? I'll happily tell you no. And then when you go, well, you can't come in here, I'll go, okay, I'll go someplace else. I mean, that's the way it works. And then if you have a bar on one side of the street where it's like vaccinated only, and I have a bar on the other side of the street that doesn't have a sign, it's just a bar, and we'll see who wins that fight. I have a sneaking suspicion you vaccinating only people, you're taking it a little too far. This is not an exact science, vaccinating people. They don't vaccinate people and then make everybody immune. It doesn't work that way. The test for the beer virus isn't even all that accurate. Okay? It's pretty accurate. I mean, obviously, if you test positive, you should, quarantine yourself and then get tested again. But there have been people who had the beer virus, got tested. Oh, you're fine. They went out, spread the virus, and then came back, got tested again. Oh, you had. And vice versa. I mean, that's been well documented. The test isn't 100%. The flu shots, the vaccines aren't 100%. They're not even close. Flu shots, 50%. And they've been doing that forever. So this new bill, don't politicize it. This isn't about Trump. This isn't about the Democrats, although the Democrats are pushing it. This is about whether or not you have the right to tell the government, oh, I don't want that in my body, and then go about your life as normal. That should be your right, to have things in your body that you choose. It's all it's about. Don't get caught up in whether or not it's about Trump or Murphy or whoever. It's just about your rights. And if you're going to mandate, and look, anti-vaxxers will tell you that, oh, you're going to die, your kids are going to die or get autism or whatever. Most of that's 99.99% of that is untrue. Although there are a tiny percentage of people who have a bad reaction, but, you know, those are, and the ironic thing is the people who push for this and the people who say put your mask on and the virus is going to kill you, you know, the virus is similar. There's a very tiny percentage of people who will have a very, very bad reaction to the virus and possibly die. So it's very similar, and yet one group says you gotta get this injection, and then the other group says, well, you can't object to this because it's the beer virus. Okay, so it's not about safety. This is not an exact science. Science evolves. Remember that the government said DDT, which is this pesticide, is perfectly safe. And they would spread it around, and this was to kill mosquitoes because they were worried about malaria. And it's a very effective pesticide, but it also had side effects, and like kids would run through the dust of it, and oh no, it's harmless to people. Well, at that time, science says it was completely harmless. And then later, they realized it could cause birth defects and a few other things. Now, again, it's not a high percentage of people. There's studies that show you probably could use DDT, you know, if you were safe about it and said, well, we're using DDT, everybody go away for like a day. And it would be effective, especially in places like, you know, now it's more of an issue in Africa where, you know, malaria is a huge problem, but not so much here, although we do have West Nile virus and a few other things. So, you know, the government then said it's perfectly safe. You can't just listen to the government or even just to the science. You have to be wary of it. It's safe for now. As far as we know, should be the preamble to anything. So, as far as we know, flu shots for all New Jersey kids and daycares would be required under New Jersey bill and would be a good thing. That's the way it should be worded. But this is why you can't let government just say, everybody get a flu shot. Because the next thing you know, it'll be, well, you know, we found that people don't get enough exercise. Everyone has to exercise. Why not? Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you say, everybody has to go for a walk, and here's the times you go for a walk. And you wear a little thing on your hand. It tells you how many steps. If you don't get 10,000 steps, we fine you. And that goes into a fund, which pays for people's health care. Sound like a plan? Some of you are probably saying yes, if you're on the left. But I find it very Orwellian and draconian. So no to this, and no to Phil Murphy in general. Because, it's not going to end well.